Survival, survival.
It starts when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen Francisco, and thanks for listening to Beyond Ultras, a place where we can connect with long-distance runners whose impacts reach beyond their ultra sign-up results. Basically, the athletes I highlight serve our planetary community, and my hope is to inspire you to take action in the wake of their leadership. Today, my guest is Karen Peterson, Coach K to a multitude of clients and friends. Karen coached me to my first and second ultras, which I will forever be grateful for. A little about Karen. She started running at an early age and discovered that her favorite distance is 50K. She's been a trail coach for several years and specializes in online coaching. She recently moved from the Bay Area trails to the mountains of Colorado. She carefully considers races for the experience rather than the likelihood of success. And my favorite, she works for Seacology, a for-purpose environmental conservation organization dedicated to the preservation of island environments, island cultures, island ecology, and marine life. Karen's traveled all over to the world's most far-flung and exotic locales to work with these communities to build long-term sustainable economies. Basically, Karen works my dream job, and probably yours too. Okay, so let's begin from the start. Karen, how'd you get into running?
Well, I grew up in Vermont. We were surrounded by beautiful dirt roads, and my sisters ran. I was a very heavy child, and I was really getting picked on a lot. And so when I hit puberty, I decided, I'm going to just do something that makes me feel good. I always loved being out in nature, and I just said, I'm just going to start running, and I don't really care about these people and their opinions of me. So at a very early age, I discovered it as a great tool for just personal peace and self-empowerment, and that was 38 years ago.
I loved how you said screw you guys, I'm going to go running. Okay, and you mentioned that you run for experiences. Can you tell us a little about your favorite running experience so far?
I've had so many, and I've really been fortunate to run a lot in the beautiful trails of the Bay Area, but also in Reno. One of my favorite races is in Reno, the Silver State 50. But I think my most memorable experience was running the Trans Rockies 6-day in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. That was before I moved there. That was 2 years ago, and I ran it with my sister. She was my partner. We covered 120 miles over 6 days with 20,000 feet of climbing, and the elevations were all between 9,000 and 13,000 feet. And it was just, I'll just never forget it. It was so stunning, and also just a great lesson in partnership, because she's always been faster than me, but we managed to stick together and work together and keep ourselves going over the rough periods. And just, the landscape is so big there. You just look around, you just go, okay, I think I know my place in the world. So yeah, it was amazing. I really recommend it.
That sounds super cool. It wasn't like anything that you had to bring along with you, right? So essentially for Trans Rockies, everything is all set, like the tents, you go right in, food's all set up. So it's essentially just kind of running, sleeping. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, my boyfriend and I actually had our own camping setup. And it was kind of funny because we got rained out several times, and poor Roy had to deal with it because we were just rookies in terms of dealing with the summer storms up there. But the food is all provided. There's a shower truck. There's a lounge area where you can chill out. My biggest complaint was that the beer that they served was Michelob Light, which just was not cutting it. So Roy would go out and get my IPA for me. But it's very well supported. It's not cheap, but it's definitely worth saving up for.
I remember seeing the pictures from there and just going, oh my God, I have to do that one day for sure. Yeah. So let's talk a lot about Seacology, considering it is both of our dream jobs, except you happen to land it. So what was the journey, for you before you got into this amazing position?
I've always been a little bit of a dreamer and not necessarily the most practical person on the planet. So when I moved to the Bay Area, I really didn't have a plan in terms of a livelihood. So I thought, well, I've got a creative writing degree and I can type. I thought, well, working for a nonprofit would be really cool. So I started just doing office work for a little local nonprofit here in Berkeley called Urban Ecology. I was on the board of Urban Ecology, which was really cool. So my leadership qualities started to emerge that I really didn't know I had. And then in 1995, I was hired as an administrative assistant for the Goldman Environmental Foundation, which administers the Goldman Environmental Prize, which is the world's largest program for environmental heroes. I had a supervisor who is actually my supervisor now at Seacology, who saw my potential and saw how passionate I was about international conservation issues. And it was very different. It was a switch to international from the more grassroots work I'd been doing, but it's still very grassroots. It's just on islands throughout the world with Seacology. But I call it the Learn as You Earn program. And you have to realize, like when I worked for the Goldman Prize, I had to go to the library to do research. We didn't have this thing called the internet. I think the bottom line was I was patient, I was personable, I just became very dedicated to working in an international arena, and one thing led to another, and now actually my title just changed. I'm now Senior Manager of Special Initiatives for Seacology, so I'm just incredibly fortunate, and it took a lot of hard work and it took a lot of luck, and it also took people having faith in me. Yeah, I'm a lucky girl.
And a lot of endurance, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I never have thought of myself as a particularly patient person, but all evidence points towards actually I've a lot of stick-to-itiveness. I'm a good New Englander in that regard.
That's right. You're from Vermont. So tell us a little bit more about Seacology. Again, as a reminder, it's basically an organization dedicated to the preservation of island environments. Why should, people from here at home care about islands on the other side of the world?
So our model is very different from other conservation organizations. So many instances where island communities have had to sell their natural resources or somehow destroy them to just stay alive, to just be able to maintain, the life of their families. We have over 250 projects around the world, but the project that I manage is our largest by many, many orders of magnitude, and it is to protect and restore all of the mangrove forests in Sri Lanka. And also we are working with communities of women, many of whom were really adversely impacted by the civil war in Sri Lanka, and helping them to restore their local environments and also to create livelihood programs for them so that they can raise the quality of life of their families and their communities. So it's a very ambitious project, but we have really amazing people on the ground there doing the work, and we have the cooperation of the government, and they have proclaimed that all the mangrove forests of the country are to be protected. Mangroves are incredibly important because they sequester more carbon than any other kind of ecosystem. They're just these unsung heroes. And so people around the world really need to care about mangroves because they're so important in mitigating the effects of climate change. And they're incredible for the resilience of the coasts. In the event of a tidal surge or a tsunami or any kind of, severe weather event, the communities that have intact mangrove forests are the ones that survive the best.
So with the Sri Lanka project, what specifically was exchanged with the community so that they would stop harming their mangroves?
Right. The mangroves in Sri Lanka, like a lot of other places in the tropics, were really adversely impacted by shrimp farming. It's been a really sad practice to just destroy mangrove forests and put in shrimp farms, which become pretty toxic and unusable and then are abandoned. But in Sri Lanka, the mangroves were also adversely impacted by the civil war because they were great places to hide. And so a lot of the forests were cut down to eliminate that. And some of these very poor coastal communities have had to rely on the cutting of firewood, the cutting of wood for charcoal. And so that's where our alternative livelihood project comes in, because we work with women, because there are many, many widows in the country, and youth, to help them come up with a business plan and a small business so that they can improve the livelihoods of their families, but they also, in exchange for that, will protect the mangrove forests. And we have mangrove nurseries. We are working to replant mangroves all around the country. So it's a very large project involving many communities and many women and youth around the entire island.
That sounds so cool. I mean, it just sounds so fun and so impactful. So what is next for Seacology? You know, how is this project coming along? What's next for you?
Right now, really ramping up the nursery and the livelihood components of the project. One thing I forgot to mention is that in July, on the very first World Mangrove Day ever, July 26th, we opened a large mangrove museum. And mangrove education is now part of the curriculum for school kids in Sri Lanka. So there's kids visiting the museum every week, huge busloads of kids, and it's just really cool to see them learning. And the setting is beautiful. It's right in the middle of the mangrove forest. So now that the museum is constructed, we're working more towards the livelihood and nursery projects. We're on year 2. It's a 5-year project, so we have over 3 years to go. We're already thinking about other areas in the world that have mangrove forests that could use some protection, to be determined, but we hope to launch another initiative of this type as the Sri Lanka project wraps up. So it's very exciting. I also still work on our projects in East Africa. That area is very close to my heart. I'm also working with Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique projects for Seacology.
Wow. So when I first heard all this, everyone, my jaw dropped to the floor and I was just like, how do I get in on this? So how can people get in on this? Where can they go to donate or to help you out or just to find out more?
Our website is seacology.org. My email address is karen@seacology.org. I'm happy to speak with anyone who is interested in finding out how to become involved. We do raise all of our own funds. It's a monumental task to raise the funds that we need for this work, but we've got a great team. We have a very small staff. There's only 8 of us actually doing all this work, but we're very efficient. I've talked to a lot of people who want to know how to become involved in conservation work, particularly international conservation work, and all I can say is be patient, find an organization that you love. We don't have a volunteer program per se, so it's a little tough when people say they want to volunteer for Seacology. I'll go to the islands and plant mangroves, and that's not really how we work, because that can often be a drain on the local communities more than an assistance. But I would say just pick something you're passionate about, get involved, volunteer your time, find out more about the workings, and it's, like I said, I'm incredibly fortunate, but it's been a long, long journey. So it's an ultra. So be patient.
Thank you so much, Karen. I think we did it. Thank you again.
It starts when you're ready. It starts when you're ready. It starts when I'm heading over, getting blessings in the shower, looking in the mirror, trying not to remember my time in the fire, 'cause I ain't gonna tell ya this war is ever over. I ride through the sea like a pirate just to float with the water. Can't carry feelings like basket can't carry water. I ain't gonna tell ya that I live strictly for the paper. Men are good, men are bad, and no war is never over. Survivor, who said it was easy? Survivor, they can never stop me. G-O-D, golden oil and dollar. Stars come and go, just like every empire. I stay fly, focus on staying higher. A power up your lighter, from you know you are survivor. 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 Who said it was easy? They can never stop. We survive. Survive. Who said it was easy? Watch yourself, I'm heading over, heading over. Watch yourself, I'm heading over. It starts when you're ready. It starts when you're ready. Survive, survive. Who said it was easy? They can never stop. We survive.